Live back to Bali, and our political correspondent Darren McCaffrey is there. And Darren, clearly he was saying that America is back. Joe Biden, it seems, is back after that midterm election in Washington that's given him a bit more support back home, and now clearly wanting this role on the international stage.
Yeah, indeed, there is no doubt that Biden is feeling a boost, as you say, domestically, talking at the start of those remarks about the elections and how they've been viewed around the world. These elections, of course, the midterms that took place last week, with the Democrats maintaining control of the Senate, though it still looks like it's a bit of squeaky bum time when it comes to the House of Representatives. Likely they will lose control there, but still seen overall as a pretty good result for the incumbent US president. But you're right, he's been to COP. He's now at the G20 here in Indonesia, and it is significant that he met Xi Jinping, not least of all for 3 hours, and there is some common ground with a pretty defiant message essentially aimed at Russia about the use of nuclear weapons in any conflict. And while there are disagreements undoubtedly on Taiwan, Joe Biden reiterating that the US position has not changed on all of this, that they are prepared to essentially want to see no action taken against Taiwan unless that island nation wants it to happen. So, yes, you're right, I'm pretty confident Joe Biden there, and he's going to remain here for the next couple of days as the G20 meets. Not to say there are lots of challenges around the world, but it's pretty clear after a quite difficult year for the US president, he feels that he would suggest the United States are back on good form.
We had Rishi Sunak saying he hoped too for a meeting with the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping, although nothing official has been slated as yet. And taking the time and trouble to reiterate that Russia really was an international pariah now, and clearly they're wanting to change the focus internationally, if there is going to be this new Cold War, as many have said, away from the Russian domination of the political scene.
Yeah, so I travelled over with the Prime Minister on his plane, 17-hour flight. We had a good chance actually to speak to him several times about lots and lots of different issues, not least of all, as you say, what's going on the international stage. You're right, he was suggesting that actually President Putin, rather than Foreign Minister Lavrov, should be here in Bali to face the music, to face the criticism, he would say, of his peers across the G20 who feel that this war in Ukraine is not only unjust but is wrong, and that President Putin should bring it to an end. That's clearly not happening. Foreign Minister Lavrov is here instead, and there will be a chance for world leaders to make their ideas and their views very clear to the Foreign Minister on that. But yes, the G20 is not like the G7 in many regards, though. Of course, the G7 was the G8 before they kicked Russia out after the annexation of Crimea. That will not happen. It's a different sort of club at the G20, and there are people in this non-aligned club, if you like, with China, India and others, saying they're not willing to take sides in all of this. But in the end, Rishi Sunak still views this as a pretty good platform in which to confront, he would say, Russia about their actions in Ukraine, and to try and get the world to deal with many of the consequences of that war, whether it comes to food security or indeed energy security too.
Yeah, and where are we with the meeting with Russia? Because we had these reports that Lavrov was taken to hospital suffering from a heart problem, that coming from the Indonesian authorities, and then the Russians coming out saying it was fake news.
Yeah, really odd all of this. As you say, while we were on the plane, in the air, we got these notifications, I think originally reported by the Associated Press news agency of the United States, citing those Indonesian officials that Mr. Lavrov had been taken to hospital here in Bali with heart complications after he arrived here. Of course, he is representing President Putin, who's decided not to come. However, that has all been denied by the Kremlin. They've branded it as fake news. And in all honesty, Mark, we're not entirely sure where the truth lies. It seems rather odd that the Indonesians would suggest this had happened if it hadn't. The Russians have issued some pictures, some moving pictures of Mr. Lavrov appearing to go through documents, sat on a balcony in his hotel, saying that there are no problems here. It does really remain a mystery. We're not entirely sure what was behind it, where the truth lies. But as I said, it does seem a rather odd thing for the Indonesians to suggest if it wasn't true at all.
Well, we'll see. As you say, he's by the pool at his hotel in terms of those pictures. We'll see if he turns up at the summit and how he looks then. Darren, for the moment in Bali, thanks for joining us and updating us.